Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a flesh and blood podcast, breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Derek and Logan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 136 of Flesh and Pod. My name is Logan. I'm your host, and joining me, as always, well, most of the time, I guess, is Barrett Goss, a.k.a. Charmer. And then with us tonight, gracing us with his presence, is the absolute legend, Barrett Goss, also known as Vishra. Barrett, welcome to the shit show.
Thanks, although I would have preferred Icon, maybe.
Legend, I
but
thought,
we'll go with
was
Legend.
Good. Yeah, I mean, we can re-record it, I guess. Do you want to re-record it? Are you good?
He can just record this 3 or 4 times. The thing that I know about Barrett is that he's in it for the long haul.
He enjoys the shit show at the Fuck Factory that much, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Good enough. I don't know what the joke is there.
Oh, sorry. That's because you didn't die with Artifact like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Although I could have made a Gwent joke as well.
I also didn't die with Gwent.
Yeah.
I guess the only TCG that died on me was Decipher Star Wars. Well, I mean, there were others too, but
just stick around; it'll happen.
Well, eventually, yeah. I'll die or it'll die. One of those two things is a guarantee.
Do you want to know what's funny? Technically, Decipher Star Wars is still more up to date and supported than Artifact and Gwent.
Correct.
Because the independent community is actually still pretty thriving for that game. So
yeah, it's really good, actually. I mean, it's as toxic as a Star Wars community normally is.
Well, sure,
because it's a Star Wars community. But otherwise, it's really well done. Barrett's nominally here because he developed an insanely cool spreadsheet that we've been using for a year now whenever national season rolls around, but also because Barrett's a good fucking time. That's what we're here for, is a good time, right? At least I hope so.
I mean, I'm at least one drink in, so it can't be that bad, right?
Right.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to play catch up here. Barrett is actually here for 2 primary reasons. Don't sell Barrett short. One, he has an incredibly strong lower back, aka he is about to carry this show.
He's going to carry? Okay. I'm good with a carry right now.
And reason number 2 is related to reason number 1, which is he's probably the only one that did something in Flesh and Blood this week.
Correct. I did fuck all. You did fuck all, and I know you did fuck all because you're with me doing fuck all.
Because I was with you doing nothing. Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. The only thing that I did that was even card game related was apparently continue my tradition of driving to another state and then winning their Star Wars tournament and running.
You didn't win.
I got first place.
No, you did not.
I went undefeated.
You went undefeated. That much is true. I'll give you that. However,
and the only reason I didn't win was because we were kicked out of the venue because it was closing.
Right, but I do believe that it was a Flesh and Pod co-host undefeated finals between not me, between Jordan Kennedy and Derek Oswald, and it was going to go to Game 3. However, the store was closed, and it was pretty evenly matched. Derek's deck was actually the shittier of the two.
I was going to say, I will concede my pool was worse, but I made up for it by being a better player. But here's the reason why I say that I win. Okay. First of all, don't give me that look. I'm a better player because I took that absolute pile of garbage that I had undefeated and then was forcing it to Game 3. I did not have a good pool, and you and I both know it.
It was fine.
It was fine, but it was not a good pool. I didn't have the Ray Kylo synergy that Jordan had, so don't give me that.
Synergy, you mean he had those 2 cards.
That's all it takes. Turns out Raylo is good enough. But here's the other reason why I say that I won as opposed to Drew. I got to open all of my prize packs and did not have to pay the Abbey tax. So
the Abbey tax is a real tax. So Jordan is not allowed to open packs of cards unless it is a 1-to-1 ratio with Abby. If he declines this agreement, their marriage is in jeopardy. So Abby took her 6 pounds of flesh in this case and committed the openings. Whereas now was Stark correct in smelling the packs this time?
Oh, yes.
For those fuck's sake.
I texted him. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking this because you knew. So my son does this really weird thing where he smells packs. Okay.
Oh, he does.
And then he will tell you he'll pick up a pack and he'll smell them. Yeah. One person at the event actually joked that before the end of the day, my son was going to do a line of packs. Like that's how much he was giving him the sniff. But here's the thing. It started in like set 1 of Star Wars, where every time that I would get prize packs or something, he would be like, I want to smell them. And then he would say like, this one has a legendary or this one has something really good or whatever. And he went 3 for 3 in set 1. Now, cause he doesn't do it every time. He just like every now and then he'll be like, I want to smell them. But he went 3 for 3 in set 1, always picking a legendary. And he also pointed out one of my showcases when I opened
like a truffle pig,
right? Like a truffle pig. So then when he started learning Flesh and Blood, because I've been teaching him how to play, we got some Hearth the Mistveil stuff. We went to the pre-release and he took my pre-release packs and he started smelling them and he went, I don't know, because this game is different. The packs smell different, but this one seems weird. And that had a Marvel Adult Zen in it. So naturally, this is now like well beyond coincidence. So like I mentioned it at this event. I was like, Stark likes to smell packs. And so Jordan throws Stark some packs and he's like, all right, Stark, which one of these ones are good? And he's like, this one has like a foil rare. And I think this one's got a legendary for sure. And he hands them back. And I shit you not, it was a foil rare in the one and a legendary in the other. So after I win my prize packs, he split them into 2 piles at the event. He smelled them. Jordan saw him do it. He split them into 2 piles. One had a Lando thing on the top. The other had a Bo-Katan, so I faced them in different directions. When I got home, I texted Jordan because this is what happened. I said, Stark took my prize packs and split them into 2 piles based on smell. The bad pile had no hyperfoils, no legends, and only 1 foil rare. The good pile had 2 hyperfoils, 2 legends, and 3 hyperspace rares. He can't keep getting away with this.
He picked up my pre-release box and smelled it, and he went, yeah, there's no showcase in here, but there's a legendary for sure, and I think there are 2 hyperfoils. And there was a legendary and 2 hyperfoils in the box.
So I have 2 things here. One, your son, I'm getting vibes of, have you ever heard about the dogs who can like sniff when somebody's about to have a seizure?
Yeah.
Your son effectively has that nose. So you know this now. You know the power he has. Use it for good or evil. We both know what the answer here is.
Evil.
To do with that. Number 2, Jordan should be using this to his benefit. It's not that you get half packs, it's that you get to buy twice as many packs and get away with it, because then your wife gets to have half of it.
That's normally what he does. However, when it's prize packs, he can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
He can say he got double prize packs when he really went out and...
This might be the longest way of saying that we did fuck all in Flesh and Blood that we've ever done. Now, Barrett, you did not do fuck all in Flesh and Blood. What did you do?
I watched 13 different national streams. Or it might have been 12 this week. And because I'm a data nerd, I put it all into a spreadsheet.
That is exactly what you did.
And I got to make a lot of news cry because Prism is great. I hate to tell you all, this is a Prism podcast now. Sorry.
It is not. It really isn't. We don't. Are you the one that downvotes the fucking YouTube channel every time?
Hot take, Logan. This has always been and will always be a Prism podcast.
This is the gun to the head meme?
No, this is just I will continue to hate her for the entirety of her existence. So she probably makes an appearance more frequently than any other hero as a result.
You know, you're probably right.
Because if you know me, I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah, that's actually correct.
Yeah.
Huh. So I never even thought about that.
Long ago, one of my friends used to, back when you played Magic still and the game wasn't, what it currently
Trash.
is. You said it, not me. We were talking about it, and at this point, I was playing a blue-white control deck, I think, in Standard, and we were talking about stuff with it. And my friend stops in their tracks and looks at me and goes, you don't really, it's not that you like winning in card games. It's that to you, card games are a zero-sum game. And for you, you just want to have as much as possible because it means the other person has less.
Right.
I didn't correct them. So I guess it makes sense that this is in fact a prism angle.
So I have a good friend, his name's Tony, who is also a data nerd. And his entire thing in every game that he's ever played has always been, it's not so much important that I win, it's that somebody has to lose. To the point that when he was working as a temp, he saw an opportunity to automate a system that would get his entire department fired. And he set a goal of, I need to do this by Christmas to make sure that everybody loses as hard as possible. And he got it done for the beginning of November and presented it, and everybody lost their jobs prior to Christmas, and he, including himself. And he was just like, mission accomplished. I'm like, bro, I'm really happy that I'm on your good side, because you don't have that desire to make sure that my life is shit, but Jesus. That was
Is this chaotic
brutal.
evil or chaotic neutral?
He's more
he
chaotic
included
neutral.
himself.
Yeah, he's more chaotic neutral than chaotic evil, but he is chaos. That much is true.
Got real close there.
Yeah. Any rate, so let's talk nationals, because a lot of shit happened in a very compressed amount of time this weekend. So we got the complete nationals picture now, and it was fucking all Zen all the time, is the way it felt. And we had one week of Zen not being the most omnipresent thing, period. And that was about it. And I know that I saw you talking about this on Twitter, and everybody should follow you on Twitter, by the way. VishraTCG, follow him on Twitter. And the fact is that I think you said that 75% of all the nationals were won by a hero that was released in the last 6 months.
Yep.
Yeah, that
it's
sounds
even
right.
worse if you include the release of Prism getting new Luminaris, and kind of considering that as like Prism being a new hero at that point, since she technically is. Kano picks up a win off of, Kindle probably. But like, even if we don't include those, 33 of the 45 were won by a hero from Heavy or from Mistveil.
Okay, so that's absurd, by the by. And I know it was funny because I sat there and have been watching discourse around the powering down of Fab for what feels like a year. And every time I look, I'm like, how the fuck is this the powering down of Fab to you? Because every time there's a new set, we see insane spikes in heroes. How is this the powering? And then we'll talk about the banned and restricted later, but then we just get that little tidbit in the banned and restricted announcement about, don't worry, Katsu fans, you have shit coming in the expansion slot, which makes me go, oh.
And Wizards. We'll talk about that too.
Oh, we'll talk about that too. But
so, a fun thing for me is that I started Fab in August of last year. I started, I believe it was August 8th. My second weekend playing Fab, I was at the Battle Harder in Atlanta, playing my first paper event. Not my first competitive event. My first time holding paper Fab cards was 9 a.m. the morning of Battle Harder in Atlanta, 10 days after winning the game. The weekend after that, I was at Vegas for the Calling for Nats weekend. And the weekend after that, I believe, was Columbus. So those are my first 4 weeks into Fab. And all I heard when I started was Fab is at the lowest power level it's been in years. I apparently missed that memo because everything seems pretty good here.
Yeah. What they meant to say was, so Tales of Aria hasn't been reprinted, is really what they were saying.
Yeah, pretty much. When I think about it, it's interesting because a bunch of new stuff is winning, and that is true. And yet, I would also still, I think, possibly agree that we're at a lower power level than we were in the Tales heyday.
Sure. If you look at the Aria heroes, so we'll just parse them out. It's Briar, Lexi, Oldhim, Starvo, and Icelander are the true Aria heroes. If you look at those 5 heroes, they are ridiculously overpowered. And Lexi being the least overpowered of them when given their entire suite is fucking crazed. But it's also, if you look at it, kind of just true, because Lexi was the last one to really turn the corner and be good. I mean, obviously, Briar was immediate. Briar was just the out of the gate, ball lightning, plunder run, everything costs 0, kill you as quick. It basically was Zen. Then you had Starvo come very quickly after Briar had some percentage taken out by some bans. Starvo just raced Living Legend. And I don't think that record will ever be broken. It was LL'd in 3 months within release.
It was essentially one competitive season. So 3 months sounds about right. It was literally like those pro quests. Because that's why I always say, like, whenever Living Legend formats pop up, I always say, like, I want to play Starvo. And it's because, like, I actually liked to play the hero. And we didn't get a long time to play him. Like, I played him at one calling and one pro quest season. And that's it. He was gone.
Yeah, he hit 960 very, very quickly within the first potential season to play him. And then got one more season and wound up at 15 something, because this was prior to the weekly checks. And so it was at the end of cycle. So it was like, well, it's technically legal. We're going to ban Autumn's Touch. And we understand that anything we do here isn't going to mean fuck all. And then, it didn't. So it LL'd, I believe, at the Pro Tour technically, but then still had another run to go because it didn't reset yet or whatever it was. But however that worked, there was like this extension that got it to the 1500 mark. But in all honesty, it was dead long before that. Then you have Icelander, who people just didn't know was good, I guess, until Worlds, where Michael Hamilton just introduced everybody to the fact that Icelander's good. And after that was Lexi. So, yeah, the fact that when you look back at that and you can potentially say that Lexi was the least powerful of them is ridiculous. So, yeah, there was a much higher power level in Fab back then than now. However, this is not what a powered down game looks like. It's just what a powerful game looks like that removed the problems. And maybe that's a bad take, but that's the way I see it.
So I think maybe my take is that it's not that this is necessarily powered down, but maybe it's also not powered up. I think one of the interesting things is that Flesh and Blood is both young and old at the same time. So, like, it's old enough for us to remember low power formats, high power formats, whatever we have now, etc. But it's also not old enough where we have a lot of like time in between, or even, if I'm being honest, like a true understanding of what a power level is quote unquote supposed to be, because it's also young enough that, the developers are still trying new things, right? We just got a set not that long ago that was entirely one class, right? Bright Lights. That was them experimenting. We're about to get the, quote unquote, all arcane set soon. That's them experimenting. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe it's also kind of considered powered down just because we don't know what power flatline is, right? We don't know what the baseline is. We're kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and if you look at, so take the examples that exist out of nationals, right? You have Zen winning 15 and New winning 10. That's over half, right? Because are there 40 total? Yeah, so that's 50. That's 25 out of 45, right? That's over half are being won by two heroes. One of them had, with just 5 more wins, got a severe, I would call it severe, powering down in the banned and restricted announcement. We'll get to that here momentarily. The other one didn't get touched, But the other one, I think everybody concedes, is kind of a more fair deck.
I also think when we touch on that one is getting a subtraction by subtraction, not an addition by subtraction, a subtraction by subtraction.
Splash damage, sure. Yeah. And then Enigma, has 2 in there. So it's, again, back to your 27. And then if you add in Victor and Kasai and KO and et cetera, the number just climbs up. Not Olympia or Betsy, though. They are still in the trash can where they kind of belong. But
for now,
yeah. But because Kasai had 0 wins, right?
I think one thing to remember here, though, is that prior to this current meta, prior to LSS deciding, hey, we're going to intentionally lower the point values now that all the RA heroes are gone, which I do think was intentional on their part once RA heroes were gone, once Dromai was gone, and they got to fix the bad mistakes there. KO is the second fastest hero to start running the Living Legend race ever. The only one that's beaten him is Starvo. The reason why he didn't race it to Living Legend immediately in Starvo's time was because our ProQuest season last season was specifically lowered in point values. Now, the fact that Zen exists, the fact that Mistveil is at the power level that it is, has kind of let that whole discussion about KO's power level kind of go to the wayside. We had 1 week with Savage Sash, which if we had more than 1 week of ProQuest season with it, I think would have been probably worse than Lexi was last year's ProQuest season, or last Nationals qualifier season.
Yeah.
It would have been about as bad as that. People have forgotten just how strong KO was and how quickly he was speed running that. Now, one thing I didn't share with either of you before this, and I'm going to post it here for you both to see, something that I know a lot of discourse was going into this weekend was, well, last weekend, New put up a lot of success. New put up a lot of points. Zen clearly isn't the best deck in the format. We don't need Zen bans. I went back and I started tracking Nat's results last year because as an Icelander player, I was worried about how soon she would LL and if she'd be gone at the end of Nat season. But what it means is I have the data from last year too. And I don't know if you want to put this in the recording when it goes live, but this is the breakdown of this year's final Nats results next to last year's. This year, the top 8 breakdown is that Zen had 80 top 8s, 46 top 4s, 27 top 2s, and 15 wins. Lexi last year, as the de facto best deck that LSS admitted was a mistake to leave in the way that she was, had 80 top 8s, 49 top 4s, 32 top 2s, and 18 wins.
Seems pretty close.
This is now granted, there are still a couple missing from this year too. I think I'm out like 12 total results. So Zen probably will wind up with 1 or 2 more in his top 8 column. But the point here is that Zen this season was just as dominant as Lexi was last season, which at the end of the season resulted in LSS pretty much admitting that they made a mistake of not touching her to win the season, and then changed their way of banning heroes so that we no longer have them banned at the end of a season, but they ban in a week.
Yeah.
That I think that speaks for itself, honestly,
at
this point. Like, you really don't have a good argument against it at this point, that Zen at this point is one of the most powerful heroes that we've ever seen, given that Lexi last season was considered one of those situations.
But when we stare at the same data set, you have, again, and I think that this is also kind of comical yet again, take New and Dromai. New, 46 wins. Dromai, 46 wins. New top 4s, 23, or sorry, 28. So yeah, top 8s. New, 23 top 4s. Dromai, 21. New, 13 top 2s. Dromai, 8. New, 10 wins. Dromai, 4. Now, I think
the conversion there, if I'm going to be honest, is that I think that New is easier to pilot than Dromai. And so I think that it's easier for people to get over that last hump.
I also think that New has a better matchup into the best deck in the format.
Yes.
And that matters a ton. Dromai's Lexi matchup was always hope I don't die.
Yeah.
And New's matchup into Zen is I can win this. Those are 2 vastly different ways of approaching the matchup. So, although it's good to see that Vincent, Arachne, and Riptide, still didn't
maintained.
Maintained. I'm proud of them, honestly. But yeah, you added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different heroes over the course of from last season to this season, even including the Lexi and Dromai and Icelander LLs and Briar. Jesus, I forgot Briar was legal. LLs. So you subtracted all those and you're still, with a 7 hero larger field. So there's also that, and still Zen sitting at 15 wins is probably even more indicative of the problem, right? And cranking out that many wins that fast is crazy. So is, I mean, like right now, if you look at, again, Living Legend leaderboard, Dash is almost gone. 9-10, one more half-ass decent season, or one big win.
ProQuest season, I think, or
probably
maybe
or
the Pro Tour in Amsterdam.
Yeah, or if there's a calling in Asia, then gone. Fi did nothing and stayed at 786. Bravo did nothing, stayed at 731. Azalea did nothing and then moved into fourth place at 658. The real story, though, is still your Mistvale heroes, because Zen's at 420, which is about the KO run. I think that's almost like within 20 points of where close. KO ended his first season. And speaking of, KO's at 632, so don't think that KO did nothing. And then you have to go all the way down to New, but New had 310. Like, that's not nothing.
It's like about what Victor or Kasai did in their season.
Yep. And then Enigma is the least with 60. But that's a lot. And what do you think? So we know that KO kind of became a victim of not having great matchups into any of the Mistvale heroes, really. And so you see a lot of percentage go there. Oh, Charmer wants to disagree. Come on.
I think KO actually has a really good matchup in the New, personally. And that's part of the reason why I think that we're going to see a bit of subtraction by subtraction, because I think New's performance is in part because of Zen's popularity and his power level. And I think he's still going to be incredibly strong with the changes, but it might be just enough that the people that jumped on the bandwagon might go back to KO. And I think that will ultimately hurt New as a result. I know I've seen some KO players that are like, I hate to play against New and it's not that bad. But I think that part of that is, again, just like fear of not knowing how to pilot that matchup. But the moment that you just realize that KO always has a better 3-card hand than she does, and so you start just always doing your math based on she'll strip one and then I'll hit her back harder, it's almost entirely a numbers game that favors KO. It's not to say that she can't win, right? It's not hyper polarized like some other matchups, but it is very winnable for KO. I struggled against them at the calling. I struggled against them during my testing. I tried teching certain things against them. And again, even on the turns where, like, if they, just send one attack with go again, but then they hit cast bones, like, you're in a world of hurt, right? Because even their next turn, if you disrupt their hand, they're still going to hit you for, 13 plus or whatever it is. And they're always doing more with less, essentially. And that's the biggest problem.
Sure. But they suffer. But maybe we're entering more into a rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, I think we are. But I just mean, like, I think that it wasn't enough of a rock, paper, scissors prior to this because the representation was off. So, like, part of the way that a rock, paper, scissors functions properly is also when the ratios are closer together. But we had such a big representation with the new heroes as well. Like, yeah, they got a lot of wins because they were powerful, but they were also usually pretty well represented in terms of, performance and ratio and conversion and all of that. And so,
sure, yeah,
I think that when you have more people end up on KO, you'll start to see him claw back some of that market share.
Yeah, Zen was 17%, it looks like, 16.9. We have a data nerd, so I probably should give the decimals. Enigma, 7.6, yeah.
So something to note there is that I actually have the breakdown by the week in the hero, like the granular breakdown with it. One thing to note with Zen is that one of the really interesting things with him, and one of the scary things about Zen too, was that he gained meta share each week. So the first 2 weeks between the US Nats and the second week, he was 15% roughly. Then he went up 2% week 3, and then he went up another 2% this last week to almost 20% of the field. So it wasn't a situation of Zen just kind of crept up on everyone and people started to play him. It was Zen kept gaining meta share through people building specifically to beat Zen. Now, New also saw a rise from that, but Enigma also went down. So it wasn't like a situation of like that rock, paper, scissors stayed the way it's supposed to. It was Zen is oppressively strong, and even through counters, people understand that and are just kind of giving into it. And I think that like the numbers don't really lie at that point. Once you see that growth into it, you can't really argue against it.
Now you just look at the Canadian Nationals top 8 and pretty much tells the entire story, as you see, a lot of big names in Flesh and Blood, and they're all on they're all on Zen, sorry. And so there were 6 of the top 8. And I would have been one of the people that was very much so, let it run out. Let's see what happens to the Pro Tour. I saw the top 8 from Canada and went, fuck no. We can't. We just can't. And that was a big change in my thinking when I saw that kind of representation from people who definitely would be playing in the Pro Tour, just throwing their hands up and going, fuck it. I mean, I might as well play it. It felt like Starbow again, where it was, fuck it. It's the best thing to be doing. There's no truly unwinnable matchup. Okay, fine. So,
and something that this is a personal kind of metric, but the Japanese players have started to get more into Flesh and Blood, and it's always been kind of a keystone to me is that the Japanese players, some of them will always play like their favorite thing, and Magic you have like Shota always playing his thing, or people who have those weird picks. But the Japanese player base, by and large, is going to say, whatever the best deck is, we're going to play it. So I woke up Saturday morning and pulled up the Japanese stream, and they had 83 total players. 34 of them were on Zen. The next highest was 12.
Yep.
Well,
when you start to see Canada was 30 Zen players, the next highest was 14. Like when you're starting to hit those numbers of your top deck in the big tournaments is running at 30% of your field, like you're hitting that danger point. And for card games, it generally seems like a healthy meta is somewhere around like 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
10 is like usually your high one. You see a couple of them. 20% is like your danger zone. 40% is like you have a problem that could kill your game, like Starvo. So when you see 30 to 35% in these big tournaments, like to me, that's kind of like the warning bells are going off here. We need to pay attention to what we're seeing with it. And I think that they kind of did that after this weekend.
Yeah, I do remember playing Magic whenever something would hit that kind of giant threshold. We would just instantly go, if I can beat 40% of the room with something and be bad, like actively cannot win against 10% of the room, I'll take the 40. Fuck it. And then run 50-50 the rest of the time. And we did that a lot and had success doing that. So, yeah, you're right. That turns into a very unhealthy game when everybody's doing the same thing and nothing looks coherent. You start to see just a lot of batshit stuff that doesn't make any sense that, will simultaneously look great and look awful. And that's never enjoyable either direction. And if you get people that are frustrated with the matchup, like there was a Twitter thing going on again. I was every now and again checking Twitter while I was getting shit blown up in my face.
Don't do that.
In Ohio. I know I really shouldn't, but we also almost got shot by fireworks. It was one of the tubes fell over and shot it across the pond directly at the crowd.
One of them skipped on the pond. Like I've never seen a firework skip on water and maintain its ignition status.
Well, it did not slow down.
No, it was actually kind of impressive.
Yeah, we gave it a round of applause after we got done ducking for cover. But the crazy part of all of that is the thing on Twitter was somebody saying, I brought my tier 1 deck to Armory, and it was Zen. And every time and I 4-0'd because every time I got paired into somebody, they just conceded. They didn't want to play against me. It's like, that is more indicative of a problem than anything else. If somebody can bring a deck to an Armory, and the reason, not because the player is somebody they don't want to interact with or anything else, but just because the deck is something they don't want to interact with, they just decline to play the game. That's horrible for your game. That's the actual worst. So something had to be done. And it did. Something was done. Now, this is intriguing because we did get a ban and restriction announcement. It was scheduled, not an emergency ban or anything like that. Although I'm kind of curious if you guys think that there would have been an emergency ban if there wasn't a scheduled announcement. But
100% from my point of view. There's no way we were going into Amsterdam with Zen in his current state.
right. And Derek, do you think there would have been an emergency ban?
I'm going to say no, just because it's better entertainment if I disagree.
Great. I'm so happy that you
Listen, I know how like sports talk radio shows work. Like he takes a side and then I argue against it. I'm not going to give him a free pass just because he's right. No, he's clearly wrong.
Okay, couple of things. We're not sports talk radio, jerk off.
Oh yeah, you're right.
He is a heel, though.
We are an interview show. I forgot.
That's not a fucking interview show. What the?
I don't know how you can say that when literally the first thing we did was ask our guest a question. What did you do in Flesh and Blood this week? So the math doesn't lie, and it spells disaster for you.
Is this around the horn? Can I give Derek some points here?
Yeah, there's a button for it.
Ding, ding, ding.
He gets more for Steiner math than anything else, though. Because the math doesn't lie, and it spells disaster for you at sacrifice. That is the way you should end every sentence with math in it. Just full stop. If you end it with that, there's no comeback. They are done. So Derek does get points for the Steiner math reference, but we are not sports talk radio. We are not an interview show. We did ask we asked a question. Holy shit. Sound the alarm. It's the same question that's been like at the top of the fucking show notes for 136 goddamn weeks, you bastard.
So you've been an interview show for 136
Oh,
weeks.
fuck off. God damn it. Fuck you, Barrett. At any rate, that's any way to treat a guest.
The ones you love.
Only the ones you love. But did I ever tell Josh Scott to fuck off? I'm pretty sure I did. But this means I love him. At any rate, ban restricted announcement. We'll start with CC because that's what we've been talking about here. And this was creative in my mind. They banned Bonds of Ancestry, but only the yellows and the blues. You can still play what is now Majestic Bonds of Ancestry, which is just red bonds, is now effectively a Majestic because the drop rates are pretty close and it's the only one's playable. So let's take this, for what it is. They addressed a problem that they saw coming, that they saw in testing, but when it got into the wild, this was in the article, when it got into the wild, the greater hive mind did it better than they did. And it became an oh shit moment. That's a lot of paraphrasing. Now, biggest elephant in the room here. Is this enough?
I'm going to let Derek go first because I have opinions here and it's going to take a minute.
I think that's an interesting question because there are two ways to approach the question. There is the question of, is this enough to balance things, right? Because card games can be looked at two ways. There are the actual mathematical statistic balances, but then there is also the player experience, and part of the player experience is in some part based. It does get impacted by what you were referring to as the hive mind, right? So do I think that this is enough to bring balance to the force, if you will? No, I honestly don't think that it is. I don't think I would agree with that statement. I do, however, think that it might be enough to rein in some of the distribution disparities among heroes. And if that is more so the goal, if they are fine with saying, like, you know what, the game is just naturally going to have some heroes that are always better than others. And right now Zen is just poised to be a good hero. Or, I mean, even if they say, hey, it's a business decision, right? Like, we would like our newer heroes to either perform better, or even if it's not all of them, have some of them perform well. But because Mistveil had a smaller number of heroes than, say, like an Outsiders, right? Like, we can all laugh about, say, like Riptide in his state when he launched Olympia, whatever. But those were also larger sets, right? They had 6 heroes, technically. Yeah, they had some revisits, but they had 6 heroes in the pool, whereas Mistveil just has the 3. So you could also make the business case that you want, you know, a couple probably marquee heroes to be doing well there. This is probably enough to get us to take a step down from the overall representation of Zen. And if that's the goal, I think it's probably enough. Even if it's just for a couple of events, maybe it's just what they want for Amsterdam, and then they also plan on reassessing. That's also potentially the goal. But I don't think if you're just talking about the broad balance across all of the heroes in the current state of the game, I don't think it's enough from that standpoint.
Okay. So because Barrett has a lot to say, I am going to take a quick shot at this. I'm not smart enough to know. I'm the first person to admit I'm a fucking moron. However, this strikes me as a Hogak situation. Now, for those of you that are not from Magic, and it's a lot of you, there was a set called Modern Horizons 2. In the set, WotC printed a card called Hogak. It was fucking stupid. It should never have got out the door, but it did. And the way the deck was built at the time utilized a card called Bridge from Below. And Bridge from Below enabled some degenerate shit to happen. So they took the step of banning Bridge from Below. But in banning Bridge from Below, they actually made the deck better because it made people go in a direction that made the deck more consistent. And suddenly, the market share of Hogak went up, not down. I have the same fear here. That by removing the bonds angle and pointing them in a different people in a different direction is actually going to create a more consistent deck, not a less consistent deck, because the plan doesn't shift. So it becomes somewhat easier for people to play, and that increases market share. That's a concern that I have when I read this. But again, I will freely admit I am not smart enough to say that that's right. But that's the fear that I got when I first heard this on my drive home from Columbus was, oh, fuck, I really hope this isn't a Hogak thing. All right, Barrett, lay it on us.
Okay, so first off, I did refill my drink in preparation for this. For those of you who haven't tried it, On the Rocks Jalapeno Margarita Mix is fantastic. You should try it. Anyway.
Good enough. Hashtag no free ads.
No free ads. James White has gone on record as saying that Mistveil, he thinks, is probably the best set that they've designed to date. He thinks it's one of his favorites. It's one of the best designed. It ushers in the era of Fab 2.0. Before we talk about the actual ban itself, to me, that's slightly concerning because something that we've seen already in 6 weeks of Mistveil is that the Mistveil heroes have an angle that no other hero has since I started playing the game. I think Starvo probably shared some of the similarities with it, but they have this thing where in around, I don't know what the number is, 20 to 30% of the games, the sheer value that they have off of their cards and off of the chi mechanic and what they can do with it is unparalleled by anyone else. Traverse the Universe, the Transcend cards, they offer so much free value and through the hero abilities that other heroes can't keep up with it. You can see it with Enigma where someone tries to punch through all of her ward, they can't do it. A mirror guy sticks around and just takes the game over. I personally think that when we look back in 5 years or however long it takes, we're going to say that Mistveil was a great set that had some serious design flaws that made it one of the most powerful sets we'll ever see. I think that we probably should have had fewer Transcend cards. Traverse is a mistake and probably the third best equipment ever printed. All that to the side. I think that why we're going to see that with part of why Zen will stay on top as the best deck in the format, I think that the ban was a really good one. I don't think it was the best ban that they could have done. Going into it, there was a lot of discourse on what the ban should be. Is there a light touch for just a Strider reprisal ban? Is there something for more of those medium hits of ban bonds entirely, ban one color of bonds, ban Ancestral Harmony? Is there a need for a heavier hit, like Art of War, like banning bonds itself plus another card out? Whatever it is. Traverse the Universe, which I don't think anyone ever really had on their radar because it's kind of just a bit too far in analysis. It's like the ban legendaries. Whichever one you fell into. I think that if we looked at it as just ban Strides or maybe Ancestral Harmony, it's not a big enough hit on the deck. I actually like the inventiveness of this ban. I think that saying, hey, in this situation, we're going to ban out just colors of it. Look, anyone who looks at Bonds and reads that card now, and I think down the line will say printing this in Rainbow was a mistake. The card is too good, it enables too much, and it enables too much of a generic play line through any ninja that ever wants to play combo. And why would you play was it Tide of Force or Breaking Wave or whatever they're called. That entire
Surging,
combo line.
Whelming, Mugenshi. Yeah.
Why play another combo line?
Yeah.
Why would I do that when Gust Wave into Bonds exist, and if I want to, I can throw Dishonor into it? Like, there's never a point to play another combo line when this one is just that good. So I think that this actually corrects the design mistake that they had previously. The fact that they said that Katsu has a card coming in Rosetta, to me, says that they already knew this was a design mistake. They wanted rid of it anyway, because design process takes long enough. You didn't just put a card in the Rosetta file a week ago and say, no, we're fine here. Like, you knew this was coming. So I actually really like this. The only other thing that I thought they could have done with Bonds instead was say it's banned for Zen specifically. Katsu can still play it. Fi could still play it if they wanted to. Like, Fi doesn't. But just say this is banned specifically in Zen, so it removes that line and makes him explore the Tiger angle instead of the combo angle. My personal take was that there's a better ban here, and it kind of is what I think we'll see as a Fab 3.0 situation, which will be that one day they're going to have to ban Art of War, Sink Below, Fate Foreseen, E-Strike, CNC. As a new player, when I started, the cards I was told you should buy these cards are those 5 and Findle's Spring Tunic, because those can go in every single deck. They're the cornerstone of 85% of decks that you play, anything like that. Time and time again through Fab's history, whether it's Chain, whether it's Stubby's Fi, whether it's Zen, whether it's Lavia to an extent, whenever you have a broken aggro deck, the thing that breaks it isn't the cards in the deck, it's Art of War. It's Art of War getting rid of a card that you can then play for free. It's Art of War getting rid of a card that you make for free, like Tigers. It's versatile, it's incredibly strong, and when the cost doesn't matter, the card is over the top and puts aggro decks over the top. I think that this was another case of kind of like what you said of the Hogak situation, of we're banning things instead of Hogak, when the Hogak here is really Art of War. And I think that we've seen before that if Ellis has had the choice of it, they go back and they ban Sink Below and Fate Foreseen and never have those cards to begin with. We've seen them kind of try to explore like the block space with things like Trounce, but you can't really make a better D-React. If you make a better D-React, then the card is absolutely through the roof. So I think at some point we're going to see them say, look, we're going to pull, we're going to rip the Band-Aid off here. It's going to suck, but we're getting rid of all of these and starting fresh from it. And I think that this was probably the point where you could say Art of War is banned. It's probably fine for Katsu. Zen will still be a deck. If Lavia and Fi and maybe like Reinar or KO aren't doing well enough without it, we'll print them things down the line and kind of buff them back up. But you could have taken this as the opportunity to finally get rid of that thing that's going to keep being a thorn in the side the longer that we go with Fab. And instead you kind of took one of the still good lines, but not as good of a line as you could have taken.
So I think, and you said this, and so you opened the door. When you were getting into Fab, people told you to buy these 5 cards because they will go in every deck. What did you do?
I bought 3 of the 5.
Okay, you paid for those cards, and you probably did not spend $0.
Correct.
Now, when you turn around, and the same thing is being said to new players today, right? And when you turn around and say, yeah, about that, sorry that you did that, but we're just going to get rid of them now. You have just probably subtracted those players from ever playing your game. And that hurts more than having to design around some problematic cards, in my opinion. Now, if you introduce down the line, when Living Legend, and we'll get to Living Legend in a second, becomes something more stable than it is now, because it is not stable, then you can treat it as more of a competitive format and have seasonal rotation type things happen. Maybe you get away with that, but you're probably 3 to 5 years from that ever being a reality. And contraction will happen quickly in some cases if people's collections lose that amount of value. Losing value is something that every card player that has any concern about value will always just sort of clutch their pearls about. It is what it is. We play a collectible card game, trading card game, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's on us. We understand that the rectangles have a value. Some people give a shit. Some people don't give a shit. I fall into the don't give a shit category. I don't really sell my fab cards ever. I just acquire more, which is currently problematic because I don't have all the space in the world. But you have certain people that are acquiring them and then also tracking their value while playing with them. That is basically said because otherwise Derek will lose his fucking mind talking about people treating cardboard as a stock market. And I don't fault him for losing his mind at that. I really don't. Now, I believe that you're right. I want to make sure that I get that in there. I think you're 100% correct that at the very least, Art of War, Fate Foreseen, Sink Below, and I would say E-Strike are a problem. I think Command and Conquer is like the right power level, personally. Because it's a clean 2-card block. Yeah, Pummel's a thing, whatever. Getting CNC'd pummeled, I've had that happen to me. It's Tales of this time, really. I love getting, 3 cards eaten by a CNC. Sure, sounds great. The one that gets discarded, the one I probably, actually, usually it's 4 cards. Fuck me. God, I hate even thinking about it. But the point is that eventually I think you're right. This game is going to have to do something to be eternal, but I think that eternal is still very important because I know that I can play any of my cards. Well, for the most part. However, I also think that when you're talking about these giant card pools that are going to exist, and if everything still rotates around these 5 cards in one way or another, that's a bad thing and needs to be addressed at the competitive level at some point. I don't think that we're going to see that anytime soon, though. That's just my thought on it. You need stability in a more eternal format before you could ever think about doing that. Go ahead, Derek.
Go ahead, what?
I know you want to.
About stock market?
Yep.
Listen, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, people can do what they want. I'm done trying to be their dad.
No fuck your feelings or anything like that, like you usually like to tell
No,
me?
I mean, it's just, at this point, like I can only listen to so many crypto pitches. And so if you want to do it in cardboard, I guess that's your prerogative. I just like them because they're shiny.
Hold on. Why are you listening to crypto pitches?
Because you keep inviting Dagan to things.
Look, can I interest you in James White coin? Just a picture of James White's head on a coin.
Okay. As long as the collar's popped.
As long as you always say James with it, because if you just start pitching white coin, we're going to have a problem. I would like to be invited to the barbecue, sir.
Cut that.
God damn it. But white coin could encompass Dagan on one side and James on the other.
Oh, that's a tempting pitch, actually.
Yeah.
But at any rate, and Dagan does not pitch crypto. He pitches GameStop. They're not the same thing. It's close, but they're not exactly the same. Overall, I feel like you're going to see sort of the dip and climb effect with this ban. You're going to see this be less represented than you have in open events, open-ish events. The Pro Tour is going to be homogenized because that's what large events are, is there's a certain level of homogenization because you have teams that end up on the same deck, yada, 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 yada. But I think overall, you'll see a dip in the numbers of Zen and then they'll climb back up. Kind of reminiscent of Phi when Phi dipped when Belittle was banned and then started creeping back up until there was another aggro deck and until Lexi got pieces basically. So I think that that's what you're going to see. I think it's a good step. I probably would have just banned Dryades along with this because it would have been a sort of a shadow ban on Art of War. Because that's usually the piece that is making Art of War way too fucking good. Is you're banishing the shitty tiger that you didn't give a shit about in the first place. Because you can just make more. And, I feel like that's the spot. Because, honestly, when you turn in the whole, I drew my Art of War. I've made a Chi this game. Block with strides, block with traverse, get a chi, get a tiger, and now I get to do all the things I'd ever want to do in my life. It's pretty terrifying, to be honest.
And really,
or you're like me. What's that?
I think the only thing that this actually did is it removes Zen's strongest outlier turns. We're not getting rid of Zen's early turn 3,
Right.
turn 4, pushing 20 points. So this is removing the 50 damage, quadruple bonds, triple bonds lines that, like, they're not really things you see either flash on camera, but it's not what makes the deck strong.
Right.
So this is kind of pulling him back into the, oh no, I'm doing 20 to 30 points a turn instead of doing 50 points a turn. It's not killing the deck at all.
You're removing the one-turn kill is effectively what you're doing.
So hear me out. What if instead of banning Art of War, they just made a way to, like at instant speed, make somebody pay more for each card so that when you have all those cards, it's harder to use them all. Maybe just like one more per card, like as an aura. I think, like, you know, it might stick around for a turn or two or whatever. It doesn't lock you up for the entire game. I think something like that would be fair. You know what I mean? Like, I think really just through interactive counterplay instead of, because when you don't have any way to slow down your opponent, it's just a case of like who can make the bigger number.
No, they would never.
That's a problem, right? And so, like in a give and take game like Flesh and Blood, I just feel like something is missing right now in the meta. Right?
No, they would never do anything like that.
I feel like, you know, maybe I admit I didn't start playing directly in Welcome to Wraith, right? So maybe something like this used to exist at some point, but like then it was gone and now the monkey's paw is curling a bit. Maybe that's what's happening. But I also admit that I am, you know, as smart as Logan and thus not smart at all. So
so moving on, Channel Lake Frigid is unrestricted in Living Legend.
What does that card do?
It is not instant. You have to. It's an aura. It's an action. So you have to play it as an action, but it does make your opponent's things cost one more.
What if I can play it as an instant?
That's poppycock. Cool? That's fucking poppycock. There's no way.
That'd be really cool. Actually,
that'd be really cool. Actually,
like seriously though, jokes aside, I do think that this is also a prime example of what happens when you print aggressive heroes and you don't have things like Frostbite. And I know that Ice caught a lot of flack, but I've been saying for a very long time that when there is no repercussions for designing your deck to be as streamlined as possible, then people will in fact streamline it as much as possible, and you will have these outlandish numbers. And so I get it. People don't like the idea of like not being able to play the cards that they have in hand, but ultimately, you know, making some of these aggressive decks run a couple more blues to go through some Frostbites or whatever was doing a lot of work for keeping things in check. I think that it felt more oppressive because of the suite of other things that was encompassing the Ice mechanic. I think that Ice is improperly scapegoated very often, because I hear a lot of people say that Ice needs to be reworked entirely. It can never come back. And I disagree with that. I think that when you look at Ice in conjunction with all of the things Old Him got, for example, that's a problem, right? Or even during the Starvo time, you had still Whale that was legal, right? Like Whale was a problem, but I don't think that Frostbites and or Ice as a whole was necessarily bad for the game. And I think that right now is actually a great time for kind of showcasing that, because if you try to make people pay taxes other ways, you know, like look at Azalea. She could, if she wanted, for example, hand out some Blood Rot tokens. And they're not going to care. They're like, I'll just take the 2 damage. If it's not impacting my ability to play things, I'll always make the bigger number. So you need a way to make them mess with their math. And that was the best way to do it. So
I just heard that you hate immigrants. That's what I heard.
I was not the one who mentioned white coin, sir.
No, you just said you love Ice, fuckhead.
Look, apparently I'm a Canadian because I'm all in on the Great White North right now. For those who don't,
I live in Canada South, so
okay, fair. Like we'll give you that. You're Southern Canada. Okay,
that's true. But you're not even Canadian, so
allegedly. Look,
But
for those who don't know me, people like think of me as the Prism player now. I'm not. I'm an Icelander main at heart. I always will be. It's never going to end. I was someone who said that when Icelander rotated, that people would be regretful of what came afterwards, and we're now at a point where Azalea plays 3 blues, and it's because it's knocked the death whistle. Like, if you get rid of the thing that polices the meta, everyone's going to do like Derek said, and they're just going to try to streamline as much as possible. I think the mechanic that should be around. I'm someone who said that I wasn't going to touch Living Legend after the nerfs that Icelander took because of Starvo's sins. I think it's a separate discussion, and for me, I think that Starvo is just a mistake to have an LL, but that's a separate thing. The second that I saw that I didn't even see the CLF unban until like 30 minutes into seeing the other one for bonds, and then I saw that and I kind of like screamed. So for me, it's like everything that you need in that format of kind of admitting that that format can't just be non-policed. We can't just say Chain and Fi should run on amok. There's no Warmongers can't exist and CLF can't exist and Hypothermia can't. They gave Icelander back the ability to kind of police the format even with Starvo sins. And God, I can't wait till they do it in CC again. Just give it back in CC, please.
So yeah, for those that don't know, Channel Lake Frigid is unrestricted in Living Legend. I've one problem with this unrestriction. We lost Barrett. Oh noes. I have one problem with this unrestriction, and the problem with the unrestriction is that it came after people had already scheduled their skirmishes. I really would have preferred that skirmish was people would have known that skirmish. I wonder if he knows that I can turn his camera back on. I wonder if he knows that. But
I don't think he does, or else he'd put his pants back on.
Yeah, I know.
Come on now.
All this ice discussion is really taking a toll on Barrett.
It is, yeah.
I think that would have been a
Look, I had a moment, okay? Look, we're not going to talk about it. Just, it's a little bit frosty in here.
It's okay. It's okay. Shrinkage happens. But the problem, I think, is that I think I would have been more inclined to schedule a Living Legend skirmish had I known that it was going to open up a bit. We have a bunch of Icelander mains around here that would have loved it, that have been so happy to be able to play it, and we didn't know. So we scheduled Blitz, like I think a lot of people did. And that's my only
playable there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There?
No. Icelander is not playable in Blitz. Icelander is very much so LL'd.
She's only bad, right? She's not.
No, she would have.
Problem with it.
She was insanely good. Like
I don't. Come on.
Like, but she's LL. She's LL. It's fine. She's gone. We don't have to think about her anymore. Instead, we have to think about Blaze and fucking the Emperor. And they also caught strays in this one. Well, not even strays. They caught direct shots to the head because, as kind of we knew that Crown of Seeds was going to be banned in Blitz as soon as we saw that we knew that Terra and then the Earth Heroes from Rosetta were going to be a thing. So Crown of Seeds is now officially banned as of July 8th. And then also taking with it Aether Wildfire and Aether Flare, because already Blaze was being oppressive as fuck by just saying, okay, so I can just kill you now, right? It's no effort die? Yeah? Yeah, okay, we'll just do that. So all those people out there that were just so excited to play Blaze with Aether Wildfire and Aether Flare in their skirmishes, my apologies. Your fun has been canceled. But they didn't stop there. They then spoiled a card because they knew that they had given bad news to a number of players and had to give the compliment sandwich, but on the other side was shit. I guess that's a compliment. There's shit, good shit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, instead they made it a shit good, which is not how a sandwich works. They probably need to investigate that. But we have the token weapon for the Ocilio, I believe is the name, the lightning wizard. It's Volzar, the lightning rod. Very cool looking, by the way. If you control an aura permanent with Sigil in its name, this costs 1 less to activate, so we're going to be getting lightning auras. And then once per turn instant, Amp X, where X is the number of lightning cards you played this turn. That's a lot. And we already know one of the lightning cards is the new channel, and that also amps. So I think a lot of faces are going to get melted off. That's where I'm going with this.
So question, have you bought your Marvel Surgeon Aethertide yet, or are you going to do that after we're done recording this?
I won't play Wizard.
Oh, well, disappointing.
I'm too stupid. I determined that a long time ago.
Holding out for Sorcerer because I'm a charisma-based caster.
Oh my fucking God. You are...
I love
Look at him. Look how charismatic he is.
Charismatic? Charismatic is a word.
Yeah. I have so much riz, as the kids say, that you even mispronounce my charisma the same way people mispronounce Charmer. So
you would be the
just
first
here watching him.
You would be the first sorcerer that I've ever seen on paper that has a charisma penalty. It'd be insane.
Well, so that's just it. My interesting backstory is that my casting modifier is actually based on my charisma penalty. Like I'm a depressed sorcerer, and that's how I fuel. Yeah,
that makes way more sense. Okay,
you're the Colin Robinson of sorcerers.
He's the Colin Robinson of podcasters.
That too.
Hello, my name is Colin Robinson.
He's certainly an energy vampire, and I'm the Laszlo?
You
no,
wish.
I wish. I can't be that cool.
You're the Guillermo.
I'm not the Guillermo, that's for sure.
So I think that these bands are actually really good. For anyone who hasn't looked Blaze's current record on Fabry, like I know a lot of people poo-poo Fabry stats. I think that they're actually probably underrated by the community overall. Most data, the community kind of tends to take as like black or white and not kind of like piece it together with other things. Blaze is a 61% win rate. Like everyone who's played with her knows that she is utterly busted, that things need to happen with it. One of the things they kind of dropped in there as like a little nugget is that Amp is one of the key mechanics of Rosetta. This isn't just a one-off or a two-off in a couple of cards. This is going to be a fundamental building block of how the wizard class operates. There are certain cards that weren't made with Amp in mind. We already know that like they were very clear with Kraken's
Aethervein.
Kraken's Aethervein, that the reason we didn't get better Amp cards in CC was specifically because Icelander's weapon would have absolutely been broken in half with any kind of Amp whatsoever. So I think the fact that they're admitting that and saying, look, we're making up a mechanic, it's how we like Wizard's design going forward, you have to get rid of the things that are broken with it.
Sure.
Aethervein is already gone. Like, will we have an issue with like Blazing Aether or Aether Wildfire in CC? That remains to be seen. They're obviously going to let that kind of sit around and see whether or not it is an issue or not. But in Blitz, at least, they're like, look, it already doubles up to begin with. Amp is a mechanic. It's just going to be double value for every single one of these new cards. It's too good. And I think that that's fair. I think it's still going to be plenty strong if Blaze is that high of a meta share now. She's still going to hold it. It's not like her hero ability goes away. It's not like these cards are opt cards. I think that she's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's just that the multiplicative damage portion of the show that those cards provide is sort of off the table for her. I still think you're right. It'd be very good still. Won't matter. Will matter, but won't kill the hero. We're going to move on because that's enough talking about bands. We're an hour and 8 in. This is not a short episode, it turns out. This is, again, another reminder. We've got, what is this, the 8th? Is that 12 days until Realm Fest in Princeton, New Jersey, July 20th. It is a classic constructed ProQuest Plus. Derek's favorite branding. $70 entry. Top 8 will get you top 8 will get you an invite to the 50K. And then first place will be getting a PTI as well as a VIP invite to that same 50K. And those are transferable and carryable through seasons. So a VIP invite this year is good for next year. Also on Sunday, the 21st, there will be a Blitz Battle Hardened. So if you are no longer scared of Blaze, then you can go ahead and get entered into that. Again, PTI is on the line there as well with all the standard Battle Hardened pricing. And if you're not into any of that shit, you can also go to play other games because it is Realmfest. There will be other things there as well. Star Wars and I believe Lorcana, which, why? But not my pig, not my farm. So, and Derek will be there. You can go say hi to Derek. I will not unless there is some random change, but it looks like that is one that I'll be missing out, but Derek will be there holding down the FAP fort, as it were, in the broadcast booth. How do you feel about holding down? Oh, you're going to be there? You get Barrett and Derek. So now you're priced in to go. You have to go. You can watch Derek struggle to pronounce card names and see Barrett make fun of him. That's exactly what you should be there for.
We're the C-tier Disney show that you never watched as a child but always heard about, and then got canceled after 16 episodes.
Huh. Name one, because I don't know any.
Living Life with Derek.
Is that really a show?
It was, in fact, a show.
Oh, no, this is getting Googled. I can't believe that that's a show. Holy fuck, it's a show.
I'm gonna need one of the podcast fans to edit his face into that immediately, by the way.
Also with this, there's a lot of different things that come up when you start typing Living Life with Derek. You get, obviously, Living Life with Derek, which was a Canadian sitcom. Living Life with Derek cast. Living Life with depression. Living Life with diabetes. Living Life with dignity.
Wait. Living Life with Derek, the podcast, could be something about depression. So this is actually all very relevant.
Yeah, this all makes sense all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It actually has an 88% like rate with Google users. So from 2009. Yeah, this is this looks like, or 2009 was the final episode, created in 2005. So yeah, this, I may have to give this a watch. You never know. Hashtag no free ads, but show's been canceled for a while, so not too worried. Time to go to listener questions. This is Barrett's first run at listener questions, so this will be fun. Although most of them were for Charmer. The first one's from Greg, inspired by Charmer. Which hero is most likely to Lannister with their sibling? Okay. Do you consider Data Doll a sibling?
No.
Okay, well, Dash is out then. I'm going to have to go with...
There's an easy answer here, right?
Well, the easy answer is Victor.
Like.
Yeah,
There
easy answer is Victor, because horses sometimes fuck siblings. But that one aside, is there another answer anywhere?
Yes.
Okay, I would say Chain, but I'm gonna let you come in with this one.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.
But, and I want to be very clear about this, it is Fi who has an unrequited love for Dromai. So he wants to Lannister his sister, and she wants nothing to do with it. He strikes me as like having that hard, repressed sibling energy, and she's just too busy with her dragons to notice or care, or both. It has anime material written all over it.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's weeb shit. Yeah. Okay. Huh. All right. Well, a problem solved, I guess. Moving
Nobody
on.
Google that. Nobody Google that.
No, absolutely not. Don't Google that at all.
Or do. I'm not your dad.
That's also true. I'm not.
Neither am I.
Nope. I am. Nope. Okay. So the next one is submitted by Blaze Storm, valued member of the Patreon. It is when you hit a mystic hero with Erase Face, can Inner Chi still be pitched as a mystic resource, or does it revert to a blue bauble? Go.
Well, so the thing about Chi is that when you're paying Chi, it doesn't care about whether or not it's a mystic resource, right? Like, I know it's a mystic card type, but I think that's more so a restriction on deck building than it is a requirement for the actual thing, because most of the cards that care say like if you pitched a chi, right? They don't say if you pitched a mystic resource. And so it is because of that trend that has been set. My guess is, and I can't wait for Josh to tell me I'm wrong, but my guess is that you could still do your activations because it's not the mystic part that matters. It's the chi part that matters, would be my understanding.
That was my answer as well, which means we are guaranteed to be fucking wrong.
So chi as printed says that chi can pay for chi and or resource costs. That means that it shouldn't be tied to the chi card type. So,
I thought it was.
Tend to agree with you with it.
I thought it was the other way, right? Like it's the mystic part, because like the card type itself is mystic resource dash chi, if I remember correctly, right?
And it loses class and talent types. And mystic is a talent type,
right? But chi is technically, in my opinion, chi is like you could call something an action, you could call something or a reaction. Chi is just a new card type. So the class is nothing. The talent is mystic. The overall card type is resource, and then chi is the subtype, right? And so a race face should not impact its ability to be a chi even. But I do think that it's the chi part that matters, not the mystic part that matters.
Yeah, and like pitching for like a 12-bottle Kasaya cares that you pitch and pay 3 chi for it, not that you pay 3 resources for it or anything like that you have a chi. It cares about the resource, and that's not tied to its type. So I think that you're correct with it, but again,
I'm so ready to be wrong. So yeah, we're gonna hope that is.
Tell you what,
we're correct.
If we are right, then that means Josh has to come back on the show. I don't make the rules. That's just the wager.
That is actually just the rules. Yeah, we don't make them. Moving on. Next one's from Goofla Brain. Say the heroes of Wraith throw a summer picnic. Who is bringing what? Who phones it in with off-brand cookies? Who is grilling? Who bails early? Who never shows? I'm going to take the never shows. Chain never shows. Now, he's going to say that it's because he doesn't believe in picnics and family, and that he's too edgy, and he's going to be at home writing poetry about crying while crying. But in reality, it's because he couldn't get the day off from Hot Topic. Who bails early?
I can tell you who doesn't. I can tell you who's the barbecue dad who's there pounding them back the entire day and will be there drinking late into the night. It's going to be
Betsy.
Yoji.
No, Betsy.
Yoji. Betsy will be there next to Yoji, and she'll be saying, "Flip that one now." It's
okay.
a little bit dark.
look a little dark.
I'll take that one. Yeah.
All right. Who's the off-brand cookie fucker? They don't have to fuck cookies. I want to make sure I'm clear here, but if they do, I'm not judging. I'm not yucking yums. But I think who's your store-bought? I think it's like Tekla, Vossner, Dash, right? Like, they're not making
Honestly,
anything.
Blaze, like, you're kind of just a knockoff of someone else that you're there because the other one's gone. So, like, you're there, you're trying to, like, prove that you're better than the other one, but you just showed up with store-bought cookies.
Maybe.
Look, those slap, by the way. They're like $2. There's
which ones?
Quantity over quality. Like, just the store-bought, like, Dollar Tree, like, Dollar Trios or whatever they're called. Like, they're not bad.
I have a cookie shop that's just like a couple blocks from me that on Wednesdays, if you buy any single cookie for regular price, so like $3, you could then buy day-old dozens for $1 per. So
Per dozen or per cookie?
Per dozen. And so I go cookie ham quite frequently at Eileen's Cookies, #NoFreeAds. Derek, do you have any opinion on this one? Or are you
absolutely? You know, these are my favorite questions.
These are your favorites.
I was letting you get it out of the way so that I could tell you how wrong you are. So,
for fuck's sake,
who never shows? Betsy, because when have you seen her show up at any event? who brings off-brand cookies? That's actually Chain for a couple of reasons. First, he's traditionally one of those like West Coast eco farmers, but since his seeds were banned, he can't grow his local produce. The stuff he does have available to him functions from the banished zone, and so the only way you're getting anything from his is if it comes from the store. Who is cooking? That's very clearly Bolton, because he needs a lot of prep time before he does anything of value. But when he does do it, it's great. And who bails early? That's Kano, because he only knows how to do things at instant speed. He's going to be there, and then he's going to be gone. That is my assessment of those.
Who never shows? Who never shows?
I told you that is Betsy, because when does she show up at any event?
Her and Arachne off in the corner, like they're at the arcade.
Oh, see, Arachne's always there. You just can't see them.
No, Arachne's there
John
dragging
Cena?
the fucking thing. Arachne is the one there who does the Midwest goodbye of, oh, I'll see you later, and then you're there an hour fucking later still talking with them because you literally can't get away from them.
Yeah, no, that tracks. As an Arachne player, you can't get away from me. I also do the Midwest goodbye. This is all perfect. Yep.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Geeks First asked Jacob, what dream product would exist if you could snap your fingers and make it happen?
An animated Netflix show.
A Flesh and Blood comic book series.
Weta Workshop making every hero's weapon and making it actually purchasable for the average player.
And to scale, like so it's
to scale.
Sharp.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not your dad. Like I'm like there.
I'm not here to
your
babysit your dumbass. You cut yourself. You cut yourself.
Yeah.
So I know that we've had the IP discussion like 1,000 times, and so that's no shock that both of our answers are IP related. But the Weta Workshop one is definitely something interesting because I'd never even thought of that. But that'd be so fucking sick. Like, if I could buy Centauri sabers,
if they made like non-sharp versions as well. If they made like licensed LARP options,
licensed Nerf options.
That'd be pretty good.
I would fuck with like Kano staff, like shooting like Nerf fireballs at people.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about Dash's pistol. Like that's to me, that's the perfect, right? It's a single load Nerf gun thing because you have to spend the action and whatever to reload it, right? So she's got to do the. But I love everything about that idea.
All right. Next one's from Sergeant Snipes. Why does LSS hate ninjas?
Really
non-serious answers only.
James White is the Shredder, and he has a thing against ninjas, specifically sewer-dwelling ones.
Yeah, I would say that it's not that he is the Shredder. I would say that he very much so understands that from watching Shaolin versus the Wu-Tang, that the ninjas are the ones in the mix that are going to cause havoc within the kingdoms. And so the Shaolin and the Wu-Tang need to unite to defeat the ninjas. I'm pretty sure that's it. But
I'm pretty sure that you're both wrong. And what actually happened is that Armada's subscriber count has finally got high enough. He's gotten the money to pay James White off, get rid of Ninja, and put Pirate in its place.
All right.
Well,
I would like to add something to our Discord, though, to further the reason why I said he is Shredder.
Okay.
This is Exhibit A of my bird law.
But he's not the Shredder. That's somebody else entirely.
Okay, but I'm
He's
just saying
it
clearly runs in his dojo.
That does run in his dojo.
For those who are our audio listeners, I sent them the tweet from when they
he shredded
all of the Fyendal Spring tunics because they were trying to prove to collectors that they are true to their word, and then it caused a big uproar.
Amongst Magic players. Not even the Flesh and Blood community. We're just like, yeah, fucking
that's because all of those, like, crypto stock market enthusiasts over in that community were just like appalled at the idea that you would ever shred money, because to them that's what they saw. They were just like, oh, imagine the humanity. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's a card game, not capitalism. Fuck off.
These are the same players that are currently up in arms about the fact that a deck is bannable because you went through and had 16 concessions to win an RCQ, right? So,
oh
they
my
don't
god,
think about their opinions.
They don't. No. I read that too, where there was like 10 total matches, and of the 10 matches, like 6 of them were concessions. It's like, I won my RCQ today. It's like, did you?
Deck's broken. Ban it.
Deck's busted. Last question. We're back to Blazestorm again. Still a valued member of the Patreon, by the way. Blazestorm says, I'm newly getting into Warrior and CC. So far, I'm very comfortable on Dory because of Blitz, but I'm struggling with Kasai a bit in deck building where it just doesn't feel cohesive. Got any tips? Also, this question is for Charmer.
Okay, so the first thing you want to do, all right, is to put 3 red hisses in your deck along with 3 blue hisses. Then just put in the other assassin cards and go.
I don't think that would make it a legal hero at that point.
Okay, I poured out my Kasai deck and I'm adding the hisses now.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is the way to go. Listen, I'll say this. If you play a hiss, when you're playing Kasai, your opponent definitely won't see it coming. So
they won't. Nope.
The judge will.
Later, yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's all I got right now. You want to thank some patrons? I think we probably need to thank patrons. We do that?
At least the valued members.
The valued members, sure. But we're going to thank a couple of less valued members like Vintox as well. So we'll start with our associate producers, where we have Andy, Sindra, Jacob, Kenny, Larry, and the Salty Sea Cat. For your executive producers on up, we have Alex, Blazestorm, valued member of the Patreon, Dom. Do you want to do the honors, Vishra?
I'm good.
Let's go, Thrust.
I like listening to you, okay?
I almost killed Charmer. Matt, Two Tokes, Poxanus, Trevor, Michael, Philip, Richard, and Sonny. If you're interested in becoming a member of the Patreon for Flesh and Pod, or becoming a patron, as it were, you can go to patreon.com/Flesh and Pod. There are some fucking number of tiers. Pick one, pay us money. Sure, sounds great. Any paid member can come listen to VAP After Dark. We did one a week or so ago. We'll do probably another one this month, is my guess. And yeah, it's a good time. People just come hang out and talk shit for a while. It's good. If you need to get a hold of us at the show, you can send an email to fleshandpod@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter at fleshpod. You can go and like and subscribe on YouTube, and then also make a comment there. They all get responded to. Biggest thing, join the Discord. Vishra's in the Discord. Derek's in the Discord. I'm in the Discord. We're all there. So you can just join the Discord. It's free. You don't have to be on the Patreon. You can just come on in. The water's, I wouldn't call it fine, but tepid, but you won't die necessarily. Or you can't. I'm not your dad. Vishra, where can they find you?
At VishraTCG on Twitter. Discord is at Vishra, I think. I'm kind of always online perennially, so, message me. I'll tell you like all kinds of data and stats you really don't want to hear. I'll tell you why Prism is the best deck in the format and how to annoy Derek and Logan literally at any point that you want. It's great.
Now, what about the Arclight League?
Week 8 will be up this week. For those who haven't seen it before, it is 9 of the highest rated pros in the world playing each week for $500 cash to the winner and getting to tell the other 8 that they're just better than them, which right now is looking like Michael Jasker. So if you're Canadian, come support the only Canadian in the tournament. We have 2 weeks of the regular season left, and then we'll have playoffs starting soon. You can see the only Derek Charmer there, as well as one of the casters.
Yeah, never ask me. That's fine.
Do I need to say it on stream, Logan?
You do.
You make me say it on air.
Yeah.
Listen, he's going to make you say it, but it's not your fault. It's Keith's fault.
Huh.
This is true.
Am I wrong?
I mean, is it? Is it?
Listen, the open invite doesn't work with you because you've been traumatized by not hearing about things due to the open invite.
Listen. Did you hear this one yet, Barrett?
I have not. No.
Okay. So we're recording this fucking show and we're talking about when we're going to see each other next. And Derek's like, and I'll see you at the 4th of July thing. I'm like, what 4th of July thing? He's like, oh. And so we get off air and he's like, yeah, you don't know about the 4th of July thing at Keith's? And I'm like, I don't. And he's like,
you do now.
Yeah, you should talk to him about that. So at Nats, I'm like, hey, so I heard about this 4th of July thing. He's like, yeah, are you coming? I didn't know it was happening, Keith. And he's like, but it's an open invite. I'm like, I still have to know when it is. He's like, I told you. No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. I told you. When? Oh, maybe I didn't tell you. There we go. That's the one. And so while we're at the event that we went to, he's like, yeah, so you're going to come to the after party, right? I'm like, what after party? He's like, the after party at the Airbnb down the road where we have the pool and shit. And I'm like, that'd have been nice to know about ahead of time. He's like, I told you about that. I'm like, when did you tell me about that? He's like, oh, probably at the same time I told you about the event.
God, I love Keith.
Fuck.
You know what? That I invited you like week 1 to cast the Arclight League, right?
You never sent me a message. You never.
Oh, 100% I didn't. I just thought it would be funny.
At any rate, Derek, where can they find you?
They could not.
True. That is an option.
Or they could find me, again, the Flesh and Pod Discord that is free to join is the best place to find me, especially if you want to talk to me about pickles. If
There's a lot of pickle
you
talk.
care about my random thoughts or hearing more about the Dirt Man, you can follow me on Twitter at ThatCharmer. I'm also on Twitch and YouTube for, reasons. That's just Charmer. Every time I say Charmer, it's Charm 3R because numbers in names win games. Forgetting something. Oh yeah, Star Wars. We talked about that at the top of the podcast, right?
We did.
I do Ice Cave Radio with Eric, aka Doa of esports fame. So you can listen to us there if you want, or don't. Again, I'm not your dad.
That's true.
Unless Stark, if you're listening to this, you're not supposed to. You're only allowed to listen to Ice Cave because I don't say fuck over there.
That's true. You don't say fuck over there.
And Logan's not over there.
Other reason. Although
Logan is PG-13.
I'm what?
PG-13. You heard me. The show's been censored.
What?
Yeah. You've got a rating. You have a stamp from the SRB and all that. Like,
weird.
Look, it's a whole big thing.
I thought we were a hard R. What do you? Okay. Well,
that's
I guess
nudity.
that's that. Oh, we only had that one time in the one video with Derek in it. Got it. So he put it. He let him out. He let the girls out for a video. It was well received by the community, and then LSS hasn't given us a preview card since. But I'm sure there's no correlation.
It's
about it,
not
right?
because of the nudity. It's more so because of the liability, because they don't want to be responsible for me having to treat the frostbite on my nipples.
But they... Okay. You know what? It's going to go ahead and leave that right there.
I told you, I'm in Canada South.
You are in Canada South. All right. Well, that's all I've got for this week. So thank you very much, Barrett, for coming on. Hey, we have an open invite. Anytime you want to come on, just let us know. You know, those
Cool,
work, right?
This is a fun one-time experience, guys. I really appreciated it.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our show for this week.
One time of jury
Why
duty
are you
is over.
Midwest goodbying the goddamn show? Will you fucking stop?
No.
That's
So
our
anyway,
show.
I was driving down the road yesterday.
I'm hanging up now. Thank you, everybody, for watching,
No,
listening. What the
you
fuck you
hang
doing?
up.
No, you hang up.
No, you hang up.
Bye.